Good afternoon. My name is Morgan Davis. I am a 2014 graduate of Widener Commonwealth Law School. I currently work for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I have been there since June of 2016.
So describe your typical workday working for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania.
Well, I think the one good thing about my job is that no one of my work days is typical. So every day that I come in, I have a to-do list. I always have a to-do list, which most often gets interrupted somehow. But I can do anything from doing like a Supreme Court brief, a Commonwealth Court brief, a Court of Common Pleas brief, or I could be doing right to know law stuff. I'm the right to know law legal liaison for my office, so I have to approve everything that goes out pertaining to the right to know law. So I could be doing that. I also am the contracts person assigned to contracts, so I could be reviewing the contract or purchase order for the agency, a settlement agreement relating to a contract or purchase order, or I could be advising a different department of my office. Each attorney is assigned to various departments where they serve as like the legal advisor. So I could be dealing with questions from them, or I could be responding to administrative appeals, or I could be in meetings all day. So it really depends on any given day, but I think that's why I really enjoy my work with the Commonwealth, because not one of my days is typical. But the majority of my work, I would say, is appellate practice.
Okay, and why did you want to work for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania as opposed to working in the private sector or for a law firm?
So I think initially when I first came out of law school, I did work for a very small private law firm doing family law, and that was a completely wonderful experience. So I would say that kind of, and doing family law kind of reminded me of public interest, because the reason I always wanted to work for the government was because of the public interest component. So I think people think of the government as like this big arbitrary thing, but everything that we do at the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, every person that's employed there is doing some work that affects the citizens of Pennsylvania. And I think that's very important to everything that I do in my day-to-day activities. Whether it's something very big or something very small, it could affect thousands of people or it could affect one person, but it's still affecting someone and it's helping those people. So I think that was kind of the biggest difference. And then from an adult perspective, I think students should keep in mind, as I don't think I really realized, like, you know, when you graduate law school, you're a lawyer, but now you're also like a real adult. So I think you have to really pay attention to the job that you take and how it will set you up for your future. So you have to think very career-minded. The government is a place where you can really grow, especially at the Commonwealth. There's the Office of General Counsel serves 35 agencies. So you could work for anything from the health department to doing higher education law, to going into medical marijuana, to doing criminal justice, to working for the Department of Human Services, or even working in Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, which does a lot with the state parks. Like, there's just a wide variety of things that you can do. So it's often weird when people kind of say, oh, public sector versus private sector, because I think it kind of puts a stigma on it, but there's so much that you can do within government that you can also do and have the similar aspects in the private sector, but there's also the benefits of it. I mean, healthcare, pension, paid leave, you know, time off, sick time. I think those are things that we neglect when we think about like picking a job, and the public sector really makes sure that they take care of their employees, you know, and I just really enjoy that aspect of it as well, and it gives you a plethora of things you can do.
Okay, and what are some qualities or traits an attorney should possess in order to be successful in a legal career working for the government?
So I think the first thing you need to do is you need to be dedicated. I think that's another stigma in the public sector, is that, oh, you work 9 to 5 and you're not like busy. We're very busy. We're all very busy. I mean, if you think the Commonwealth is a state, it's an entire state. So a lot of the work that the lawyers do day to day affects the entire state, from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia. So I think you have to be dedicated to your job. Don't come into the job thinking, oh, this is a 9 to 5 job and I work my 8 hours and then I go home. So I think you need to be dedicated. You also need to be a team player. Most offices have several attorneys and the overarching Office of General Counsel. And a lot of things we do, we focus on it and we approach it from a team aspect. There's nothing that I necessarily do on my own in my office, because you have to utilize the skills of the other people around you, because they most likely have more experience or they've dealt with those other things. So you have to be a team player. It's very important. The other thing I think you need to do is you need to be a people person. You need to have a certain level of professionalism, but you also need to be able to talk to people in a variety of environments. Because, I mean, you think of the public sector versus private sector, our client is our individual agencies or the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So you have to be able to talk to your client. You have to be able to explain the good and the bad of certain situations. So you have to be very pragmatic about those things. And I think lastly, you need to be very driven, I think. You need to be driven, and I think you need to be goal-oriented. You need to set goals for yourself and be able to achieve them, because I think that's the only way you'll be able to move around in your career or move up the chain, so to speak, in the Commonwealth.
And how has Widener Commonwealth contributed to your success as an attorney working for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania?
So I would say the first way it contributed is it taught me professionalism. So from early on, when you come to Widener, you're exposed to professors who have tremendous academic and professional backgrounds. But then you're also exposed to the community. We're right in the city, the capital of Pennsylvania. So there's a lot of attorneys who have events here, and the students are often invited to them. There's a lot of speakers who come here, and the law school is like a base for them. So you're definitely exposed to people from early in the beginning of your law school career, and you have to learn a certain level of professionalism when dealing with them. Even in class, your professors, it's total transition from college to law school. As soon as you come here, you're no longer just like a student. You are a young professional, and I think that's very important, and Widener definitely prepared you for that. Second, writing. Writing was a big thing. When you come to Widener, you're taught that being a good writer is one of the best lawyering skills you can have. And so when you start here, you're writing from the beginning. You do a lot of practice writing. It's not just like an exam at the end of the semester. You do a lot of writing throughout your entire semester. And every course has a writing component. And the professors are very, very particular, and they really, really want the students to become great writers. And I think that's so important, because I write every day. And I don't think you can go into most fields of the law and not have to be a good writer. So that's the second way. The third way I would say is research. They teach you how to be an independent researcher. I don't necessarily know if you research as much in practice as you do in law school, but if I had to research something, I would definitely feel prepared to research it, because Widener prepares you to research from the books. We started with books, it's the 21st century, and you're like, I'm not opening up a book, but Widener teaches you how to research book, whether it be on the internet, in a book, old books. So I think that's very important. And the last thing I think it did was teach you creative thinking. People say you go to law school to think like a lawyer. I think you go to law school to become a creative thinker. So Widener definitely taught me how to think about the problem and think about the solutions to the problem. It's not always yes or no, but there could be a different answer. There could be a different solution, and it could be yes and no. So I think that's very important, to be a creative thinker when you prepare to go into a career as a lawyer, because you're going to get a question. I get asked a question every day that I don't know the answer to, and I can't open a book and find it. So if I didn't have the tools to be a creative thinker, I wouldn't be able to give anyone an answer.